Joana here. So today I'm going to talk about arguments, and specifically arguments between couples and those in relationships. So why we go through arguments, what they mean, and how to prevent these moments of friction between two people or more, but specifically about couples. So, and I have here Joe with me, who will also contribute with some perspectives. So in arguments, I find that there's a lot of things going on that do not necessarily benefit us, and from my experience, from what I also went through, and from what I see in other people, is that arguments are moments where a lot of emotions come up. Like there's this turmoil of confusion, of feelings, of emotions, of people talking about things that they don't necessarily mean or want to say, but the mind kind of takes over of the communication. And it's really important to be aware of this when they start happening, when we kind of see the escalation of the communication, the tone of voice, the thoughts that we kind of seem to not control anymore or filter, and we speak anything that comes to mind, even if it's unresponsible towards one another. And those moments, what I notice is that they don't need to exist. They exist today in the majority of relationships because that's what we have accepted and allowed.
In all relationships,
yeah. Even like between parents, children, adults. But it's also because this is what we see. I mean, we've seen our parents arguing with each other many, many times. And we think that's the only way to basically discuss and talk about points, which is not necessarily so. In fact, in arguments, what I see is really hard to see common sense because, as I said before, the emotions take over. So what I also want to share in this vlog is that those moments when you find yourself in your next argument, remember that we are able to stop it. We are able to give us direction to understand that those emotions that come up are not real. We don't need to become those. We can identify those because they've been living within us. But we can decide. We have that power and responsibility to decide, am I going to really say this to another? Am I going to allow this rage to come out and even then to basically create regret later on? And also, is this actually supportive to find a solution? Because the whole point of arguments, it should be about understanding where the disagreement comes from, what is the underlying reason for that disagreement, and what can we do to overcome it, and make sure that the past does not dictate our future, because there's a lot of baggage in these relationships. So next time you have an argument, see if you can identify the emotions that come up, but also what is the underlying factors that are kind of promoting and making the conflict escalate even more. Yeah, close the window, please. Joe, perspectives on that?
I was paying attention to the road, sorry.
Okay. So I was talking about the conflict when people are kind of going to escalation, right, and how to identify.
One thing that I can talk about, to mention, is the fact is how many of arguments that couples have escalate because of different ideas and beliefs that people have about certain things, or about how certain things should be done, or how a certain person should act. And it's also related with a lot of expectations that are not talked about. Like, I expect a certain person to act a certain way, and then the person does not act, and then it becomes an argument, and then the other person has whatever reason and then justifies acting that way as that's who I am, for example, or I didn't pay attention to it, or whatever reason, or that's not how I see things should be done. So this comes to the point of having of couples not having a mutual alignment with their vocabulary and with how they see the relationship going and how they should construct the relationship. And for this reason, then you have arguments that just will escalate, and then it's as if I think of past relationships, it's as if the only thing you can do is to forget about it. And eventually you'll see that these emotional arguments, they can only last for so long because they are emotional, and once the emotion, which runs on energy, once the energy runs out, you cannot deal with it anymore. You just go away, walk away, or whatever, or you just stop talking, and then eventually things seem to be okay again. But it didn't resolve anything. It's just the energy has run out. Do you want to say something?
Well, I just don't want this vlog to be too long, so let's keep it short. But yeah, if you guys have questions, do let us know. And remember, take this as supportive feedback on what we realize is what arguments are, and that we are capable of better when it comes to our communication, and to make sure we align ourselves in our relationships and also in what we want to achieve together. Cool, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.